Welcome to General News. For July 21, 2026, we are tracking three major shifts in global stability: the intensifying military confrontation between the United States and Iran, the sudden imposition of heavy tariffs on Canadian goods, and significant leadership changes within Ukraine's military command. In the Middle East, the military confrontation between the United States and Iran has entered its 10th consecutive night of strikes. According to U.S. Central Command, these operations are targeting Iranian command centers, missile and drone launch sites, and air defense systems. The stated objective of these strikes is to degrade Iran's ability to attack commercial shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. While maritime data shows a slight decrease in vessel crossings, commercial transit in the waterway remains active, though the risks are clearly rising. One tanker in the strait reported being struck by an unknown projectile, which forced the crew to abandon the vessel. Iran has responded with its own set of claims, asserting that it has struck two oil tankers in the waterway as well as various U.S. military assets in Bahrain, Kuwait, and Jordan. These claims include a reported strike on an Amazon data center in Bahrain. Regional fallout has been widespread, with Jordan, Bahrain, and Kuwait all reporting the interception of Iranian drones. In Kuwait, strikes have reportedly hit several power and water desalination plants. This cycle of escalation follows the confirmed deaths of two U.S. soldiers, Private Isabella Gonzalez and Lieutenant Tyler James Feehan, during an Iranian strike on the Muwafaq Salti base in Jordan. While Tehran maintains that diplomatic messages are still being exchanged through intermediaries despite a collapsed ceasefire, President Trump has signaled that further military action is possible. The president has specifically threatened to strike Mount Kolangaz-La, following reports that Iran may have moved nuclear centrifuges to the area, though he noted the necessity of confirming whether the material is actually present there. At the same time, a separate, U.S.-brokered attempt to stabilize southern Lebanon is facing immediate friction. The Lebanese army has begun deploying troops into a designated pilot zone, with engineering units entering the village of Zortar al-Garbaye on Tuesday. However, the deployment has been met with reports of fire. The Lebanese army claims that Israeli fire has targeted their units, hindering the movement. The Israeli military has countered this, stating that its soldiers fired only warning shots after Lebanese troops and an engineering vehicles crossed approximately 150 meters into a security zone. While there were no Israeli troops reported in the immediate vicinity of the villages, Lebanese state media reported large explosions and demolitions in the Bint Jabal and Tyre districts. The success of this pilot program remains uncertain, as the core political issues remain unresolved. Hezbollah has rejected the framework for disarmament, while Israel maintains it will not fully withdraw from the region until Hezbollah is disarmed. The conflict, which began in March following a strike that killed Iran's supreme leader, has taken a heavy human toll. The Lebanese Health Ministry reports over 4,300 deaths in Lebanon, while Israeli authorities report 41 deaths. Shifting to North America, the economic landscape is facing significant disruption as the Trump administration has announced a 50% tariff on a wide range of Canadian imports. The list of affected goods includes items such as wine, hockey sticks, and cement. The White House has stated these levies are a retaliation for what it describes as the unequal treatment of American cars, dairy, and alcohol. The administration expects these tariffs to take effect within 30 days, and they will apply regardless of existing protections under the USMCA agreement. Some critical sectors are expected to be spared from these new costs, including energy, potash, critical minerals, and fish. However, the broader implications for the two largest North American trading partners are significant. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney stated he has spoken with President Trump and that both leaders have agreed to intensify trade talks, but Carney warned that all options remain on the table for a Canadian response. In Ontario, Premier Doug Ford has called for a policy of responding tariff for tariff, dollar for dollar. This move comes as the administration seeks new legal avenues for trade policy, following a Supreme Court ruling that struck down several previous tariffs imposed under emergency powers. Finally, in Europe, Ukraine is undergoing a major reshuffle of its top military leadership. President Zelensky has dismissed the army's commander-in-chief, Oleksandr Syrskyi, and replaced him with Mikhailo Drapati. This decision follows the recent removal of Defense Minister Mikhailo Fedorov, a move that triggered widespread protests across Ukraine. Reports suggest the leadership change was driven by a conflict between Fedorov and Syrskyi, with critics noting that while Fedorov was praised for his efforts to combat corruption and transform the armed forces, Syrskyi was viewed by some as being reluctant to implement necessary radical reforms. In an op-ed, Syrskyi defended his record, characterizing the issues regarding procurement and mobilization raised by protesters as being far more complicated than the slogans used in public demonstrations. Despite this, President Zelensky has tasked both Tripathi and Acting Defense Minister Yevgeny Aykmara with developing a new defense strategy. This new plan is expected to focus on military core reform, weapons supply, and the integration of drone technology. As these conflicts and trade disputes evolve, the central question remains whether diplomatic channels can keep pace with the rapid escalation of military and economic retaliation.